be talking about seizure experiences. And the reason I say it like that is because my brother, for 22 years, has had seizures. I have seizures, my dad has seizures. But the experiences that I'm going to talk about are me and my family dealing with my brothers. And there's stories upon stories. But the one I'm going to talk about right now is probably one of the harder ones for me. About 3 years ago, my brother had his first, what I would call, grand mal seizure. And it ended up getting to the point we had to call 911. And while we were calling 911, I had to get up behind him, and I had to talk to him, and I had to make sure his eyes didn't keep rolling in the back of his head, and all of that. We tell them my brother is a big boy. He's about 430 at the time. He has a issue in his brain. It doesn't tell him he's full like normal people, and the meds don't help. So we try really hard to keep his weight under control, but there's not a lot you can do when you have seizures every day and like physically. So anyway, back to my story. We end up calling the ambulance, and they end up showing up, and we told them he was a big boy, but they didn't really pay attention to that, and they ended up bringing us 6 people, and that's enough to pick him up. That ain't the problem. They brought a normal size gurney for, like a 300-pound person. What they weren't expecting was a 430-pound man who was sprawled out on a bed, unconscious basically, with his eyes rolled behind his back, his head. And we're trying to keep him alert and trying to keep him going. So we have to get him into a chair, this big chair. They do have a big chair for him. So we get him into the big chair, and he's slouching and everything, and I have to hold him up from the backside because there wasn't enough room. We lived at Emi's apartments, and for anyone who's ever been there, once you get into the hallway from the bottom floor, you can either go out through the laundry room or you can go up the stairs. And we end up going through, I want to say we went through the laundry room, and we went around to where their fire truck and ambulance was. But the problem was, when we moved him from the chair to the bed, they didn't have a good grip on him, and they almost let him fall onto his side. And I was not lifting weights, had not been lifting. I had my migraine, and I was just his brother. But being his brother, I ended up taking his right side, and I held him up, and I lifted him up all by myself. There was 6 of them, and it was me. And I ended up picking up half of his weight so he didn't fall off this bed. And not just that, I also had to hold him up and keep talking to him while he was having the seizure and everything. And we end up getting him up, and we have to move him because they have him on a tarp so we could move him easier. But the tarp, due to the seizure, was making him slide. So we end up getting him up on the bed and everything, and they raise the arms, and they go and they take him. Now here's where the hard part for people who don't understand or haven't seen seizures or have someone around with seizures. It's not what you do in the moment that's the hard part. It's after. Afterwards, they're gone. They took my brother, my mom and dad went. I went and I took a stick. I found a stick, and I found a big ash tree. And I broke this stick to the point I had splinters in my hands. because I hit it with everything I had, emotion, force, everything that I could muster, my sadness, my tears. I was just broken. Everything, I was done. I couldn't believe that had to happen, and the fact that the firefighters and the EMTs almost dropped him and everything, it all overwhelmed me. So I threw a soda, I broke a stick, and then I went and I replaced the soda. And the reason I bring up the soda and everything is because I went and I replaced the soda and I cooled off a bit and I came home. And we had to wait, probably 2-3 hours. He was at the hospital, ended up getting the meds, ended up getting it under control. They brought him home. And why am I talking about after the seizure? Because for people like me and my brothers, I have 2 other brothers who don't have seizures, and my mom and my dad and all of us who watch it and we help and we take care of him and everything. He got home, he was safe, he was doing good, and you know what? When you see the down and the good side, you end up respecting life a lot more. You end up feeling it a lot more. You end up realizing that some of the stuff in life just isn't worth really being down on. And that moment when he came through the doors and he had a smile on his face and he was happy, and yeah, he had a bad day, but that night ended up being, I think we ended up watching wrestling or movies or something, and yeah, he was out of it a little bit, but he was happy and he was happy-go-lucky. And for everyone who has family like that or experiences seizures themselves or anything like that, you know what it's like when you have that bad day or that bad afternoon, but they come back and they hit you with that just pure happiness and joy afterwards. I can't really describe it. It just puts a smile on your face and you're really just relieved and you're happy that is how, that's your family. No matter if they have seizures or they have whatever the disease or problem is, if in the end of a bad day, there's a good ending, that's all you can ask for. And it really was a good ending to such a shit day. And I'll never forget it because I had to put my brother on a gurney. I've done it 3 times in 3 years. And I will tell the other 2 stories in my next seizure experiences. But this one I thought people should really see. So I hope you enjoy it.